assessment for a comfortable schoolhouse. Even our horses and cattle are housed or sheltered according to the season and their natural wants. But the comfort of our children 6 hours in the day during the coldest portions of the year is often and most unwisely and unhumanely neglected. So someone's getting a good tongue lashing for not repairing their schoolhouses. And wait till you see what they say about the District No. 1 schoolhouse. The District No. 1 schoolhouse is in great need of repair. This was the wooden one that was there before ours. The consequence has been considerable irregularity of attendance from cold. There was an unusual coughing at examination. It is hoped that the district before next winter will employ a carpenter and thus save the expense of a physician and increase the usefulness of the teacher. I love reading these passages, and so they do. They build the most beautiful school in the city, and it still stands there today in all its glory. I want you to visit as soon as you can, but this is my favorite passage. District numbers, it was in the 1842 Nashua report, District No. 1 schoolhouse has suffered the last few winters for the want of a comfortable schoolhouse. But the good people have aroused themselves and set an example worthy of the rank they hold as No. 1. They have built one of the best schoolhouses in town. It is of brick, convenient in its interior arrangement, admirably located with liberal grounds appended, and provision has been made to adorn the area with verdure and shrubbery. This has cost only 1% on the taxable property in the district. And I understand today that 60% goes to schools. Does anyone know if that's true?
Sounds about right.
60% of our tax
Sounds about
dollars.
right.
Sounds about right.
And 1% in 1842. And they built a school that lasted 168 years for $629. And they paid $75 for the piece of land that it's on today. And I guarantee if Burger King wanted to buy that piece of land, they'd pay $1 million today. So I love that passage. But anyway, in closing, just a tribute to the young people, the young women who stood up to the school committee and answered their questions. They were examined by the school committee men to get their job, unless, like I said, there was political pull. And that is common across the United States, no matter what districts you read about. If there was political pull, you could be easily out of a job. And there's the crusty old school committee man there, who would come, and this is an actual picture of a school committee man from a book called The Country School. And he would come and listen to the children recite their lessons and judge the children. Oh, he got a spanking. And that's our ferule. We call it a ferule, which is our stick that we would threaten them with. I call it the Board of Education. And we keep it next to our desk, and we have another good paddle too. And when we blame someone for drawing this picture, we take them up and make believe we're going to spank them for drawing this picture of the teacher. And so there was all kinds of discipline going on in those days, and the girls loved to see this picture and this one.
I'd like to tell you, I miss the paddle upstairs in the classroom.
Oh boy, I could have used it a few times in 31
No,
years.
it's not there anymore.
Oh, we had a paddle here?
Yes.
Oh.
It was on loan.
Oh,
it was on
no.
loan.
It was on loan, so we didn't own it, babe.
Oh, I see.
So it's on loan, it's coming back.
No, it doesn't belong to us.
Oh,
We
it
took
doesn't
it in
belong
as
to
a
us.
loan.
Oh, we were the loanees.
Mm.
Oh,
Firework.
Well, this came from another presentation about discipline, but they had some pretty cruel disciplinary tactics in those days. They'd make you stand and hold out a book. They'd whip you on the hand. They'd make you write, I am a bad boy, I'm a bad boy, I'm a bad boy 100 times. And so to say goodbye to our little red schoolhouse, I hope you come and visit us one day and come and see the artifacts that we have in there and visit with me. And I thank you so much.
One thing I would appreciate, it looks like a lot of people here might have been the right age to have attended a one-room school. I'd be curious how many of you
I've met you, we discussed.
to the Huntington.
Yes, I thank you, yes, we talked and she did. Oh, you had a beautiful name for your school. What was the name of it?
Pine Hollow District School.
Pine Hollow, there was another lady that had a beautiful Crescent of the Moon School.
And
Pine
I taught,
Hollow.
I
The woman
taught
in
the
this
first
room.
year teaching.
Three people.
What
Yeah.
grade was that?
I thought it was
Well, there
Muriel
were
Shaw.
several
Oh, that's right,
grades.
well, listen to me, what grade was it? Oh, grades, K to 8, right, oh my gosh, yes.
Have you ever been to the Sutton, the Mustang Museum in Sutton? They have a schoolhouse there. It's a whole bunch of old buildings.
I have not, but
They
I
had
will.
schoolhouses, Concord, some old farmer guy or some rich guy got all these old buildings that people were gonna take down.
Where is it, Sutton?
I think it's Sutton, New Hampshire. It's called the Muster Farm.
I've never
It's
heard
open
of
once
it.
a year and they have all these buildings on display.
I know about Sherburne Village, and I know about
It's that
Sturbridge,
idea.
and it's same idea,
Yeah,
huh?
that
Yeah.
idea.
Oh, I'm gonna write that down because I wanna go. So,
I went to a one-room school in Wisconsin.
you did.
I had Miss Mildred Monahan
Mm-hmm.
as a teacher for 8 years. She had a 40-year teaching career.
Oh,
So not everybody was out after 2
Right.
years.
that's very early. There was
Uh,
some job security
right.
later, right.
You mentioned Ripon, Wisconsin, the birthplace of the Republican
Mhm.
Party. Watertown, Wisconsin was the birthplace of the kindergarten in the United States.
Do they have a one-room school that
They do,
demonstrates
they,
that?
they do, there's an octagon house, which is the main part of this site, but then they've moved this one-room school, which was the birthplace of the kindergarten,
Mhm.
in back of that. The school I went to was Rock River Joint District Number 2.
Number 2 school.
And this was a school that had the 2-mile radius, and I walked a mile and a half
Mhm.
each way.
Mm-hmm.
The different school districts shared resources. So there was, Robert Muffley was the music teacher. He would come in the morning to one school, the afternoon to another, and so forth, going to 10 schools throughout the
See how
week.
you remember those names, though?
Well, yes, why not? And when I got to high school, I wondered why the other, there were now 300 students in this school. The other students from town couldn't sightsing because we had learned how to sightsee.
See?
There was a small library about the size of that bookcase over there,
Mm-hmm.
but there was also, each week, a car came, picked up the old box of books, brought a new one in.
Sure.
So we had a
Traveling library.
traveling library. Over the course of all the years there, we had a very rich availability of books as well. Just before I went to this school, the previous one burned down.
That's always the case.
But
Very common story.
some of the students were trying to go inside and throw the books out to save them. The teacher, knowing the books were out of date, threw them back in. Because she wanted, as long as the school's gonna burn, we were gonna get some new books.
Oh, that's a great
So,
story.
there's a lot more, I won't take any more
Oh,
time.
that's a great story.
Isn't there a one-room schoolhouse in Jaffrey?
There is a one-room schoolhouse in Jaffrey.
That's
That's
a
another
real-
trip I'm going to make.
That's a real, when you step in that schoolhouse.
There is I haven't been to that
That's a
one.
very rural schoolhouse, and when you step in there, it's a very tiny schoolhouse, and it's dark in there, and they have these old-fashioned desks.
I'm going to call them this weekend.
And they have their
In the
original
historical
school
society.
books.
They do.
And you look at that, and they will all had to calculate, like, how many pounds in a ton of this, a long
Sure.
ton and a short, I don't know.
Things that
short-
we were never
Yeah,
required to
and I could say,
calculate.
how could they figure, they had no calculators.
And percentages in their head.
Yeah,
And even in the early days, shillings to pounds, to English money, to federal money, it was a disaster for these kids, and they did it.
but it's a very remarkable, I don't even know if they open up,
It
they
is-
must,
And they did mental arithmetic.
yeah.
Are there any golfers in the group? Well, I trust you know the name Francis Ouimet, who won the US Open in 1913. The picture of the schoolhouse in Brookline he and my mother attended that school at the same time.
That's great.
And it was relocated, it's now on the Los Angeles estate.
Yes, it's in a beautiful location.
It is, but it was actually on the other end of the golf course from where his home was. So we had to walk across the golf course to go to school. And I guess that's how we became involved with the game
Oh
of
my
golf.
gosh, I'm gonna call them this weekend.
And we like that school. I mean, it's
I'm going to call them this weekend. And Peterborough has one too that was built brick, it was dismantled and built back again, brick by brick. Every single brick was numbered and rebuilt.
I wanna thank you so
Oh,
much for this
I'm-
program. This
I'm
was
so glad
fabulous.
to be here. I
So
just
fabulous.
love to share my enthusiasm.
This is an example of the type of programming we have at the Nashua Historical Society. If you would like to join, become a member, we would be happy to have you.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, I am, B.
A little bit.
Thank you, B.
Thanks for coming. I